this meeting at 4:01. We'll start with roll call. Senator Biggs, not here. Senator Calderon Pitchford. He's in late. Senator McDavid.
Here.
Senator Schmidt.
Here.
Senator Johnson.
Here.
Senator Dickey.
Hello.
Senator Watts.
Present.
Senator Suleiman. Senator Brandmeier. Senator Cherry.
Here.
Senator Moore.
Here.
Senator Pradhan. Proxy. Senator Schumacher.
Here.
Senator Pearson. Senator Maltari.
Present.
Senator Chihuahua.
Present.
Senator Stiff.
Here.
Senator Wandsrule.
Here.
Senator Bonham.
Present.
Senator Bouchard.
Proxy.
Senator Akut.
Proxy.
Senator Nellis.
Here.
Senator Karki.
Here.
Senator Swankat.
Here.
Senator Vondra.
Here.
Senator Bakta.
Present.
Senator Zversel.
Here.
Senator Wolfart.
Here.
Did I say that right?
No.
Okay. Speaker Zelmer is not here.
More wall and fort together rather than fart.
President Omar is here, and Vice President Trini is here. So we will start with open forum. Is there anyone here for open forum? Anyone here for open forum? Seeing none, we will start with our first presentation, Dean Dahlman.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anna Dahlman, the Interim Dean of Public Education, and I was invited to provide an update on the coronavirus situation. And my expertise is not medical, so we have Wendy Shu here, the Director of Health Services. So we will tap her with any questions about the actual medical side. I'm responsible for global activities, outgoing, so study abroad, as well as incoming students studying here. And so I received 4 questions to answer specifically from your Vice President, and I'd like to address them first. And then I have some resource for you, and then I will open up these 2 questions. First of all, how did this come about? Last Friday, about 5 p.m., the Chancellor of the whole system of 37 institutions, 7 universities, and 32-year colleges informed the campus leadership that out of the abundance of caution, he is ordering all faculty, employees, and students not to travel abroad. So that was the directive. And then you received on Saturday a message from the President to that effect. This is unprecedented. I'm sure you understand this is something that is very serious, taken very seriously, because it has huge ramifications. There are 500,000 students in the system. And so we are, as campus leadership, expected to operationalize this. So what does this mean in practice? We've done this in waves. There are high priorities, and then there are other high priorities, and then there are some other high priorities. Right now, we are bringing students, as you have heard, South Korea and Italy are at the epicenter of things right now. We have students studying there abroad. So we are working very hard. So any emails from you who are right here in Minnesota will be secondary to the students who are right now in abroad, and we're bringing them home. So the State Department has different levels of advisories for travel. South Korea and Italy are considered level 3, and they were upped to level 3 last week, meaning by state policy, we cannot have student traveling in a country that is at advisory level 3, meaning reconsider travel on state funds. So that's what we are working on very hard to do, and we are getting them tickets and all these things, and that's going well. Since Friday, we have a team in place. I have some of my colleagues, Jennifer Rsos, Associate VP for Undergraduate Education, and of course, Wendy Shu and her team on the medical side. And then the campus leadership is working on this, believe me, 24/7. Right now, we probably have gotten 1,000 questions. We are logging each one of them. And we have created a FAQ, a website with information. And I'm going to give you a copy. It was posted today. It was initiated yesterday, and it's up today. And so I'm just going to give you a hard copy for now, but it has the website, and there'll be an email to give you information on where this website is. I also have my business card. Absolutely, send me email. And that's what we're doing. Every question that we get, we are logging, we're investigating, and we're putting information on that website. So that's the verified information. You will hear all kinds of things. Just go to Facebook or Twitter, and people will have answers that are absolutely not accurate. So I would refer to this website as the university information, and we will update this daily. So please come and check. Email me. Email me or Jennifer Rsos. Both of us, we get lots of emails from everybody, and I'm happy people are asking questions. I would encourage you represent stakeholders, your senators, so reach out to your constituents and see what their questions and concerns are, whether it's study abroad or the coronavirus. And again, send those questions to us. It would be amazing if you could funnel them through your leadership, so even have an ongoing log of questions on your end that you send to us. You can do whatever you want, but that way, when we receive questions, we will both investigate and we will provide information. The number one question that we received, so I want to address it right away, is how many of you were scheduled to go on a study abroad on on group travel? We had 127 students hoping to go on a faculty-led program this spring. You have no idea how hard the faculty have worked on these trips. I cried, literally, and screamed a little bit too when I heard this, because this is my bread and butter. This is how we get our students abroad. So, the number one question is, you know what the question is. Will students get reimbursed for what they paid for in student fees, the course fees? And I will say this, while I cannot promise it to you today, the university has every intention to make students whole. That is our highest priority. By the way, David Jones is also here, VP Jones, who is heading as a campus, all these efforts, so we can also tap in. So that is our number one priority, is to hold students harmless. There's a lot of work to be done, but 99% of the work we're doing right now is to figure out how to make this work for students. Because if we don't have students, we have nothing. And even faculty inquiries, administrator inquiries, everything has to do with students. We have lots of advocates on campus. Will you get credit for the class that you signed up for? Absolutely, absolutely. So if you cannot go on a study abroad, a 10-day trip, you still attend that class. And we are figuring out what that experience might look like. How about summer trips or next fall? We don't know yet. Right now, any international travel has been canceled from May, until May, between now and May. Summer and fall might still go on. As of right now, is the university planning on holding off new faculty study abroad options? We are on standby. There are meetings at the state level very frequently right now, and they're making those decisions. So those were the particular questions, and then I am open to your questions.
Are there any questions for Dean Dahlman? Senator Karki first.
Hi, so I have one question regarding it's not directed to student, but indirectly related to student. So the students who are graduating this in 2020, the international student and they hope their parents to be there in their ceremony. So how likely is the the travel thing, because it's an international travel, so how does it work? How likely is the visa possibility there?
Oh my gosh. I can't answer that question with any kind of certainty.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't have incoming travel bans only, and I will need help with from my other administrators from China and from Italy, I believe, and we'll need to check. So that as a country, you cannot come into this country if the government has banned from certain locations. So I need to double check that. So as of now, we are welcoming people to come here. Of course. US has the virus, right? As well. So we are welcoming people to come here. That might change. And I have no control over it, nor does anyone else here. In terms of visas, no one knows. So we are planning to bring parents here for graduations, and we are moving forward. This is not going to stop us in celebrating our global achievements, but we definitely are working hard to manage the situation.
Senator Rsos.
So do you have a timeline to predict when you'll have an answer about fall and future spring programs?
Yeah. The provost, he's not here because he's at a state level meeting right now. I promise to provide an update next week of what we know. So I will send it to President Omar. Update on timeline for summer and fall.
Senator.
Also.
Hi. Do you have a timeline as well to guarantee full refunds for all these 127 students or are you looking to possibly make the for credit experience like a loop where you do still charge for that in place of the study abroad?
I cannot guarantee anything, but a timeline for a guarantee, I will report again next week because we're working really hard on it. So update also on any refunds for students. That is literally our number one priority. And you have a lot of people fighting for students.
Senator Rsos.
So I understand we're talking about potentially doing refunds if it was faculty-led, but what if you signed with a third-party provider? Or is there still a way that students can get refunds or get reimbursed for that?
It's in the same category.
Okay.
Any money lost is money lost.
Okay.
Any further proxy?
This was just a general question, but if there were some summer programs that were going to happen in May, could they be moved to the June or July session of classes?
Anything is possible if it's possible. So we're open, and I know I'm such a politician, but absolutely. So if anything beyond the spring semester, if there is an option to move, we are open to it. If it is.
Senator Bogdan.
Yeah,
I just want to add one thing at the end.
please, yeah. Hop in. Yeah, you have.
Oh, no, if you want to go ahead.
I'm wrapping up.
I think, we totally understand that you don't have any definite answers, but just because of the situation, that's totally fine. It's just people are concerned about different things, so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I had a question that was a little different from the timeline perspective. As an on-campus senator, I do want to solve the concerns and represent the on-campus students. So what would you say would be the most, because I'm looking for a medium for them to funnel your questions to you.
This girl.
I think there are many ways. Can you serve as a contact person for your constituents? A student government has probably, you all are very creative and smart, so what are some ways that you can do it? You have my business card. Take a picture of it and send people my way. Have them call us, talk to their faculty if it's the faculty-led course, the faculty own the courses. They can always talk to the academic dean. Any administrator right now understands that students are anxious and we want to be here for you. So I wouldn't worry as much about who to contact, but encourage people to contact.
Thank you.
No one else, you have my information.
Any last questions for Dean Donovan?
Okay. And I'm Associate Vice President Rsos, undergraduate education, so please send questions my way if they concern academics. And actually, if it concerns other things, go ahead and send them to me too. I can funnel them to Anne or whoever needs to get those answers. But I just want to remind you, spring break is next week. A lot of people, exactly, but a lot of people are traveling, and they're going to lots of different places, and then they're coming back to our campus. So please just don't panic. Just remember, we're working on this. Take proper precautions, the types of things that you should really be doing anyway. Washing those hands, sneezing and coughing into your arm, going to the bathroom and maybe not touching the door handle but using a paper towel. But just take ordinary, safe measures to keep yourself healthy, please. And don't panic if someone seems like they're ill. Particularly be sensitive to people who may come from Asia. They're getting a lot of microaggressions right now. There's some overt hostilities right now. Please stand up for those people because they haven't done anything, But I just want to reassure you, we're working on this. There will be people getting sick after spring break. Some of that's going to be wear and tear. Some of that's going to be ordinary cold and flu, and we can't tell the difference. But just don't panic about these things, okay? Thank you.
We'll now go into the staff budget presentation by the SAC chair and vice chair. Again, while they get set up, this is the time to take notes, ask questions. This will be the budget we'll look at during our budget meeting on the 25th. It'll be the longer meeting, so this is the time to ask questions. And they'll go into their presentation. And we'll save questions till the end. Just raise your placard if you have a question.
Hello everyone, thanks for inviting us in today. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Trenton Sachs. I'm currently serving as the chair for the Student Allocations Committee, also known as SAP.
Cool. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's coming through? Awesome. So, for those of you that don't know my name, I'm Kyle Edwards. I've met a couple of you around the table now in my time here, coming up on 2 years. So you all are looking forward to your budget presentation, right? Like that's exciting for you guys? Cool. So if it isn't, we have something that can really, really help with that. We can help cut down on your time with some real answers that were brought together by a group of people with a lot of different views, even in that room. But we think we found a great compromise that fits great with student fees.
All right, so what is SAC? SAC is a student government committee, student allocations committee. Currently we have 8 members, 3 of them are sitting senators. Our first duty is responsible for making recommendations for RSO programming and travel requests. These are the requests that show up on the bottom of your consent agenda every week, so different RSOs have the opportunity to go travel places or maybe host programs here on campus. Our second responsibility, which is the reason we're here today, is to make a student activity fee recommendation to present to you all. So as you can see, we spent the last 2 months. First, we met with all the student activity area funded fees. Then we sat in our own deliberations this Saturday and talked about what we believe was the best recommendation to present to student government.
Absolutely, and something else I want to bring into the group is our members come from wholly different places in the college. I'm in the College of Arts and Humanities. He's an accounting major. So like 2 very different things, but we work together in a great way. So I just wanted to kind of go over the philosophy that we took before we went into our deliberation, that we took from the SAC guidelines and from personally. Overall, we recognize that university is super expensive. It's something that we're all taking the burden on right now with, and so we wanted to keep that student fee down. We as a committee and you as a Senate hold an actual responsibility on keeping university costs down for you and your peers. Another thing we wanted to do was follow our SAC guidelines. So taking that into account, the top bullet point for the SAC guidelines is that we want to hit as many students as possible. Not specialized groups, but everybody is paying these fees, every single person here. And so we wanted to hit as many students as possible. As there is a decreasing amount of students coming to this school every year, the fees are always going to be going up because of contracts. So the contracts with the salary and the fringe that university employees get out of this fund is going up, and we can't do anything about that as students unless we want to cut from the program, and they'd have to make cuts in other places. That money is going up. So with that combination, if we said yes to all of the asks that we were facing this year, we'd be looking at a projected 7.87% increase on our student fees just by saying yes to everything. We would love to if we had the money. We realize that in this process, cuts are really, really difficult. We're going to be saying no to programs and things that students do use.
All right, this is an example of the layout you'll be seeing for the rest of the slide. So the university works in fiscal years. So the first number is going to be the fiscal year base. Each fiscal year lasts from July 1st to June 30th. We're currently in FY20, which is fiscal year 20. So the base you'll be seeing is the amount that the activities get this year, and it will close on June 31st in the summer. Then what we're recommending is to start July 1st in this summer through next academic year. It will be that budget that we're recommending. The second column is the request, so what they came to us and requested, and then the third column is what we are recommending to you guys. This is the overall budget impact. So you can see the base this year is the 2.7 million. As Kyle mentioned earlier, all of our requests ended up being 2.85 million, which would lead to that 7.87% increase, which is over the cap currently. There's a cap, we'll talk a little bit about that later. All these additional requests would have risen the base by 5.9%, but because of that drop in student paid fee hours, it would actually be a 7.87 increase. That's where that number is coming from. Since we are expected to receive a 1% decrease in enrollment, fees automatically go up due to that. So our recommendation, we are recommending 2.7 million. That's the number down here. We are also recommending committing $19,010 from our reserves for one-time funding expenditures, which will bring our final recommendation down to 2.7 million, which is going to be a 0.08% decrease. But even because this base is a decrease, student fees are still going to go up because the credit hours decrease. So does that make sense to everyone? We are receiving less, these programs overall are receiving less funding, but due to the decrease in enrollment, the students will receive an increase in the fee that they're paying. All right, so our first activity is campus recreation sports. They requested $571,326, and SAC is recommending the full set $571,000. This increase was for salary and fringe benefits given due to contractual obligations. As Kyle mentioned earlier, each program, if any program has a full-time salary position, every few years they go through and have salary and fringe benefit increases. These are out of our control, they're contractual with the university. We also recognize the large population served by campus recreation, which we believe justifies their large budget. Our next area is Intramural Sports Club. They asked for $25,000. We recommend $25,000. Intramural Sports Clubs have been receiving $25,000, but it's been a flat ask for about 4 years now. SAC would like to recommend that the diversity we believe Intramural Sports Recreation adds to campus, and we like all the different services that they provide and all the groups that they can bring together. MAVRIK Adventures Climbing and Ropes Course. Request $159,530. SAC is recommending $157,596. This is to cover their salary and fringe benefits again, the contractual obligations they're required to pay their employees. SAC is not supporting the repurchase of equipment for the climbing walls and rope course, or the small increase in their contract, in their liability contract. Our next area is Mavic Adventures Trip and Travel Program. So their request was 20,810. We're recommending 5,800. The Mavic Adventures Trip and Travel Program is almost exclusively set aside for a general a graduate assistant position. SAC believes this position would better be served as an hourly wage position. So we are keeping the 1,800 they are allocated for programming, and we are recommending an extra 4,000 for this hourly position. This could be about up to 13 hours 13-hour a week position to help them kind of move from their graduate assistant position that they're at right now, which is serving for 20 hours a week. It would kind of help them move down. Eventually, we would like to see this be about a 10-hour a week position. That would be a student hourly position instead of graduate assistant. We believe these 10 to 13 hours a week would be sufficient to host the 3 programming events that Maverick Adventures hosts each semester.
Another key focus there was this is a contentious program. We do realize that. Our philosophy was it just does not hit enough students for everyone to justify paying for it when we feel we can hold a similar level of programming with a student worker.
All right, next is our Campus Rec R&R Fund. Campus Rec allocated for 20,000 for the R&R Fund. SAC is recommending 20,000. We believe this cost is sufficient to replace all of their large expenditures that Campus Rec has. All right, next we're moving on to Forensics, which is the speech and debate team on campus. Forensics is requesting 16,484. We're recommending 11,000, which would be a decrease in 3,000 from their current FY20 base. This decrease, we did the math, it would average out to about 2 trips or 4 tournaments that they're currently attending. Currently, they do 9 different events I believe 17 different tournaments, so it would be a small cut. Forensics did come to us and express their interest to build more on-campus experiences, and we believe those on-campus experiences are great, but they do have the highest number of funds per students that attend their trips. So we believe that they should cut back on the trips and instead increase their on-campus presence to reach a larger population of the student body.
Alrighty, gender and sexuality programs, that's the Women's Center and the LGBT Center. They have held a flat request of $55,000 for a while now, and we agree with that. We recognize their excellent outreach to students across campus, and yeah, we agree with $55,000. Alright, the green transportation fee. This is the bus service and all the fun that comes with that. So, our philosophy with the bus fee is that it hits a ton of students. It's one of the most widely used services on campus. It's one of the services that student government promotes as theirs. It's done excellent work and you guys have great attendance. What we feel though is that we wanted to mirror the increase that busing fees saw with the parking fees. Currently, as it is, they're trying to transfer the weight of the parking, because parking currently contributes to busing, over to the student fee with the busing fee that we have in here. SAC believes that that isn't exactly fair to the students who ride the bus, and that we wanted to mirror exactly the increase on them. As such, the program would need to face cuts. That means either less hours or less routes. I'm sure David's being really to the point with you guys about it. He was with us. We feel that there are certain routes that could be cut, and we'd encourage you guys to find a program that makes it less of a debate and more of a numbers thing. If you guys can find a formula that fits with, if we don't get this certain amount of ridership after 3 years with the program, we think that would better fit with the goals of the student fee that have been laid before us.
All right, next we have the International Center activities. They have requested $67,960. We're recommending their current level of funding, which is $58,242. They've received gradual increases for the past 4 years, and SAC is happy with the amount of funding they're receiving at the moment. We're happy with their peer mentor program, which is what this increase they were asking for. They're asking to over double their program, but SAC believes that currently the program is at a good state and will be sufficient to serve next year.
All right, there's just a quick little fix with the multicultural student activities. The only thing is there was soft money in the current budget last year, one-time allocation. So they come to us and we give them $1,500 as a 1 year, and then we look at it again in the year next year. That was brought to SAC with the benefit of providing increased programming on campus. This year, you've seen a lot of events being put on by the Multicultural Student Activities Center. And so we feel that that $1,500 was justified, and so we put that into the budget. Alrighty, so music ensembles. Music ensembles hits a decent amount of students. However, we feel that the $4,800 within their budget line for speakers and directors, people who come in and teach the people performing within this program how to play certain songs, run them through it. I don't play an instrument, so I don't know exactly, but I do know that that's what they're spending that money on. We feel the benefit of that to the student body as a whole was not strong enough to justify that $5,000, more or less.
Our non-budgeted request fund. This, if you go back to earlier in the presentation when I talked to what SAC is about, our first duty is allocating travel and programming money to different RSOs on campus. This is the money that we have to allocate to each program. So for the past, I'm not exactly sure however many years, it's been 40,000. We would like to bring it down to 35,000 just because it hasn't gone past 35,000 in any of the recent years. We believe we can use this $5,000 off of our request fund budget and just use that to soften a blow somewhere else in the budget. Repertory dance, ask 5,000, SAC recommends 5,000. Repertory dance is another budget that's been flat for the past 5 years. We're happy with the funding that goes to repertory dance and we'd like to maintain that.
Alrighty, the reporter. This is a big one. And this was the source of a lot of debate during our meeting. It took an hour and a half, I think. Really fun. It is every year. And that's what we're hoping to avoid with this. So, we're at utilizing the one-time funding pretty heavily here. How this works is we want to maintain what they have this year. We feel that what they came asking for was support for a staff member to be moved on to student fees. They currently have 2 staff members within their office. We saw that and we could not justify putting that burden onto students with the increase in the percentage that we'd see alone. If we did that alone, that would have brought us up way, way higher. So we couldn't justify that. So we looked at it and we talked to the reporter several times through the semester. And we'd been told that their ad staff in previous years hasn't been to where they want it to be. And the reporter, more so than almost every other line in this budget, brings in a ton of money. They project themselves to reach around 210 in ad sales this coming year. And that's a higher number than they've reached in a long time. And that is because they have finally had the funding to employ their full ad staff. So that was this year that they finally got up to that level. They're expecting strong retention on their ad staff into next year. So they should be able to hit their projected ad revenue with the hope that that will help balance their budget. They're currently quite in the red. SAC is very interested in financial viability for the reporter in the future. Part of that, for the support for staff, needs to come from other university funds. It can't entirely be on the students through the student fee. It's unrealistic with that 112 cap that the state has put on the activity fee. If we put that on there, that's just not leaving the room that we need. So we decided that we would give them the same money, they can maintain the same staff, and from there, if they can do what they're saying they're doing, then SAC next year can make that permanent funding again, and we can hold that line or even increase it with those contractual increases that we see so often. So I think this is a plan for the reporter that lets them prove that they can succeed, that financial viability is a path forward for them. And with the full ed staff, that's totally possible. I believe in the reporter. I utilize their services every week. So, this is part of supporting success with the reporter. They have a repair and replace fund. They currently have a copier that they need to fix. So in this account, we can give them money to put into this account, and then they can hold on to that up to a certain amount. Currently, they have $7,372 in there, along with this $4,000 of one-time funding, so it would need to be reapproved next year. They would be able to afford the copier and upgrades for their computer so they can continue producing their great newspaper.
The staff administration is the business services office. This office serves as basically an overhead for the rest of the student activities fee. They do all the necessary paperwork and budgeting that the fee requires. They're asking for a $13,945 increase in salary and fringe benefits, and SAC sees no reason as to why we can't increase their budget due to the salary and fringe benefits. Student Activities Administration Office, they're asking for an increase of $5,166. Now, 1,813 of this funding would be one time. This is requested by Student Activities Office. This would be one of their staff members is expected to be on parental leave right before welcome week, and they would have a GA coming early for, I believe, 2 weeks to serve as kind of filling that position, so they don't suffer their programming right as the year starts. So that's where the 1,813 one-time allocation comes in. The rest of the 5,166 is due to salary and fringe benefits, and SAC would also like to recognize that the program has shifted some of their funding internally, so they are absorbing some of the salary and fringe benefit increase themselves, which is why this line item, the salary and fringe increase, might not be as high as you see on other budgets. Community engagement requested to remain flat at $9,797. We're recommending we keep it flat. We love all the programming that the Community Engagement Office does, and we believe that they use their money very efficiently. Fraternity and Sorority Life was asking for a $2,000 increase for a speaker at ULEAD. SAC does not recommend the $2,000 increase. We believe that the current $2,000 they have for the speaker should be sufficient. All right, Homecoming was asking for a $750 increase. This was due to the increase in wages for the security at the Homecoming concert. SAC recognizes that security at the Homecoming concert is obviously a necessity, especially being the time of the week that it is.
All right, with recognized student organizations, this is more of a budget kind of thing. They were asking to move $2,300 that they normally are allocated in hard money over to Leadership U. We see no reason, it's run by the same person on both ends. We see no reason to get in the way of that. So we decided to do that. All right, Leadership U. So, 2,300 of that is the move over from the RSOs. The other part of the ask was to support the student retreat, the Leadership Student Retreat. We felt that that did not engage enough students on campus effectively to warrant the increase in funding. The non-trad center, we kept it flat, pretty simple. For student events team, it's pretty simple. Mount Cato, the tubing event that happened back in January now, they need more money to run that event, and so the $500 is just to cover that. It's that easy.
All right, student government. Student government had an ask of $113,216. We're recommending a decrease to $103,588. This decrease represents the amount in stipends that we do not believe should be funded for next year. So for those of you who were not around last year, senators used to receive stipends, but last year SAC recommended that they did not believe senators should receive stipends because we believe that you guys should be here because you want to be here, not because you're getting paid to. At last year's student government meeting, it came up the idea of if senators are getting their stipends cut, should coordinators, should the chair people, should president, vice president be getting their stipends cut as well. So this year we went back and looked at it and we decided that we agree the SAC chair and vice chair, the coordinators, should not receive their stipend just because we believe that you should take up these leadership positions because you want to, not because you're getting paid to. We think that there will be no issue filling these roles because most of us applied to these positions without even knowing that there was a stipend that you received from it.
Yeah, it's been 2 years on this committee for me now, and I didn't learn about the stipend until this year when I stepped up. So.
The general feeling with the Student Allocations Committee is that the size of student government didn't actively suffice a $110,000 budget, so that's why we believe that you guys can find cuts to handle the increase in salary and fringe benefits next year. One recommendation we had was looking at printing costs, things like printing agendas, printing resolutions, things like that.
All right, theater. This is another one that's going to be contentious. We recognize this. Theater is another section of the student fee line that draws a lot of money in itself. They also have their foundation account. Student fees represent something like 6 to 7%.
Overall 14%, the cut is 6%.
Overall 14% of their income for what they do. What we're cutting right now is around 6% of that. We feel that the Broadway directors, speakers, that they bring in to engage with their program, similar to music ensembles. This is the exact same logic we had there. We wanted to engage as many students as possible with these fees. We feel that theater just wasn't justifying that with their director bring-ins. So that's where that cut comes from.
All right, Veterans Resource Programming. This program was requesting an additional $6,000 so they could have a student hourly position, a student front desk worker in their program. SAC believes we're impressed with the work they've done this year, but we believe that they are not required that extra student assistant worker that they believe that they would like in their front desk area. They are seeking another one through work study funds, and we would like to see how that position works out before we commit full-time student activity fees to that position.
All right, so we just wanted to talk about what this looks like with our proposed numbers. So what that comes down to is you've got 2.7 million divided by all those fee-paying credit hours comes down to 892. So that's a 1.71% increase. That's really, really tiny considering the fact that we have contractual obligations to raise budgets for people across the board. There's a lot of different departments that are asking for more money that we can't do anything about as a student senator. It's important to keep in mind with this fee that there are cuts within our program, within our recommendation that are not tasteful. We recognize this. But what we were going for is engage as many students as possible with this fee. There are other funds on campus that these programs can look to that are more specialized. Student activity fees is about the students as a whole.
All right, and then we will stand for questions, and provided here are both me and Kyle's email. If for whatever reason you come up with a question later or maybe looking for more information, you guys can always reach out to us anytime before your guys' budget meeting on the 25th. We're here to make sure that you guys are as informed as possible before going into your budget meeting so you guys can make the best possible decision.
And then I just want to throw one more thing in there. There is that student activity fee reserve fund. So that's $201,953 that is sitting in a fund that's a reserve fund for rainy days. You can't pull from that too heavily. 5% of the student fee taken from people every year has to go into there by state statute. With what we're pulling from, around $19,000, $20,000 to make this fee lower, from what we're pulling from there, that $2,100 is where we're sitting currently, if you guys go with our plan. Just want to throw that out there.
Okay, we will take any questions. Please raise your placard up so I can take a speaker's list. Starting with President Omar.
I'll ask one question at a time so others can speak. Regarding the green transportation fee, you guys mentioned cutting the lowest routes. Do you know which routes are the lowest right now or aren't being as utilized?
We do not currently have that information with us, but David has great ridership numbers that you guys can get a hold of, or we can get to you. So, yeah, we can get that to you later.
Senator Cherry.
Out of curiosity, do you have any graduate students who are on your committee?
Yeah, no.
Okay. I would like to just ask for MAVRIK Adventures on behalf of other graduate students why it is that you feel that that position would be better as a student worker instead of a graduate student.
So with the information that we were provided in our budget meeting with MAVRIK Adventures, they claimed engagement with 101 students over this past year. Around 52 of them, 66 of those students were through RHA table. That's 3 programs in the academic year that we were presented with. And we feel that that can be done by a student worker. And if they want to cut back on that 13 hours and make it 10 right away, that's a higher wage. You can recruit a more qualified student to play that role.
Okay.
I'll kind of speak on that again. So currently, I believe 19,500, something like that, of the $2,000 ask was for the graduate assistant. We just think that the whole program is basically being funded by a graduate assistant, and we didn't see the need. We believe that someone can maintain 3 programs a year on that hourly, or 3 programs a semester on that hourly position.
Do you think a student worker could have that kind of authority though to get students off campus for all of these events?
That's not in our control. We just recommend the money. That's what we do here. We recommend the money, and then they take that money and they run that program.
Thank you.
Next, Senator Johnson, did you still have a question?
I do. I was just wondering, how do you guys calculate like student involvement? Like, what methods do you use? How do you figure that out?
So a lot of the times we get numbers from the programs when we're going through the semester. They come in, they talk to us, and they tell us how many students they're engaging at, their performances with theater, or the events that student events team holds. Like the MAVRIK Cinema, they give us exact numbers for how many people are in the theater throughout the entire academic year. So a lot of the times it does cut, I would say all the time, it comes from the departments themselves.
President Omar.
You mentioned when the Carney Center was up that you decided to not allocate the full request because their peer mentor was in a good state even though they wanted to expand it. What was defined as being in a good state for you all?
So this is a really new program. I believe it started in the past academic semester. Within the past year, this program has begun. They currently have 2 peer advisors engaging around 12 students on a week-to-week basis. We think that's great, and we think it's a great program, but we'd just like to see a little bit more time before recommending an increase. Most of our increases across the board with this budget were contractual increases. We recognize that if we give increases for programs, we're going to see that number go up real quickly because you have to be fair. If you're cutting directors and programming for music ensembles, you got to do it with theater too. That's kind of our reasoning on that.
Senator Sverson.
So my question's on the green transportation fee. You mentioned that you didn't want to see the increase come from here because you thought that was unfair. Could you explain that rationale a little more?
Absolutely. So the parking fee currently helps, like passes, the money that are generated from the passes currently helps the bus program. And that is slowly being shifting away. So parking has been subsidizing their raises and costs over the years by taking some of that weight off of themselves and putting that onto the student fee. We think that with the goals of this campus, one of the things we talked about within our deliberations is like a green campus. It's in the name. You know, I think we should be supporting keeping that bus fee reasonable for students, while also discouraging people driving in, as bad as that sounds. There'll still be parking for people who are way off campus, but I don't think that we didn't think that parking shouldn't be subsidizing the bus as well. And the busing fee is one of those things that is gonna keep going up continuously until you guys address it. It's one of those problems that if you don't deal with, it's gonna keep rolling over and over again, and we're gonna end up with an even bigger fee. So this is kind of our way of saying you guys need to take a look at this.
Senator Watts.
I'll yield.
Oh, okay. Senator Stitt.
You mentioned you talked to someone from the forensics or speech and debate team. So, and you also mentioned that you would like to see more of the spending being used for on-campus activities. So I just wanted to know if you could specify exactly would you like them to hold more tournaments here, or their outreach to be here, or what were you looking for exactly with the on-campus spending?
Yeah, I would say it's a combination of both. When they presented to us, they presented their plan for next year, and it included a lot more on-campus events, on-campus speaking opportunities, on-campus assistance. Currently, they do coaching for things like interviews and things like that. We'd like to see them expand those programs and hopefully reach more of the on-campus students before they, spend more of their money allocated to just traveling for their top speech performers. Another thing I forgot to mention while we were touching on forensics, currently all of the forensics allocation is going to travel just to compete in speech. None of that programming is currently being spent on any on-campus programming, any on-campus activities, anything like that.
Senator Schmidt.
Hi. So under music ensembles, for bullet point number 2, you say that student fees should not fund speakers mainly used for the student's own college. Can you tell me, where did you get that information?
So we believe that many of the music ensembles people, I believe it's required by the colleges, that people in those programs are mainly from one college, and we would like to see, instead of students funding support for mainly one college, we would like to hope that the music ensembles program could reach out to that college for funding if most of those funds are going to benefit the students individually in that college.
And similarly to the MAVRIK Adventures programming, where we just give them the money and they choose how to spend it, something they can look at is they don't have ticket fees to get into their shows. So they can look at putting ticket fees there to subsidize this cost if they feel that's what they want to do with their program.
Thank you.
Senator Johnson.
For the theater one, you said in the 3rd bullet point, although this represents a significant cut in funding from the student fees and theater program, the theater programming budget as a whole is not as significantly affected. I was just wondering what the numbers for that, because I'm looking at that number and it seems like a pretty big drop. So I'm just wondering what, as the overall theater programming budget, how did that decrease?
Yeah, so the numbers that you're seeing on the screen right here is just their student activity fee funds. The theater program, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I'll say that for fiscal year 20, that $82,000 is only 14% of their total generated funds. They have a lot of funds from other generated areas, such as ticket sales, over-the-counter sales. I believe they receive endowment money, possibly. They receive other funds from other areas. I know they have ticket sales and over-the-counter sales. The SAF funds only fund a total of 14%. The decrease in the 14,000 is only going to be, I don't know the exact number, but it's less than 3%. On the budget as a whole, I think it's around 2 point something. I can get that.
And another consideration that we were told within the SAC guidelines to take into account is ability to draw funds from other sources. And so that comes down to the foundation money that they balance their account with. We feel that they can draw on that, not lean on students as much, just to keep that fee down because it's still a 1.87% increase.
President Omar?
My question is, when you guys were speaking about the budget for the reporter, you guys have mentioned that they should made a suggestion that they should consider going within a college. Have you guys done much study on which college they should go under, or how this may affect them overall?
So we spoke with them about this just recently, and I would prefer to I think it's important to recognize university funds, not just academic colleges. We're not here to prescribe a route forward, we're here to support. As a Senate, we're here to support the reporter's success. And that needs to come from other places as well to keep this student fee reasonable and within the state statutes. So we talked to, within our own meeting, we talked to the chair of the journalism department, and there's plenty of options, and we feel that there are, academic and university end.
Follow up with President Noma.
We spoke with the academic provost, and they said they felt as though it wouldn't fit within a specific college. So the other suggestion would then be university funding. Being that the university gets revenues from different areas, where exactly would they get that fee from?
We don't have that answer. That's for the reporter to seek out.
We would, I'd like to mention real quick, when we were talking about the reporter, when you're talking about exactly what college to come from, they said they get a lot of support from the Arts and Humanities and the College of Business. And when we talked to them, they said they had not reached out at all to any of the colleges because they didn't feel like they needed to. So that's when we were throwing this budget together, that's what we were basing our knowledge off of, that they hadn't reached out, and we would like to see them reach out into the future and at least ask. Like they say, if it's a no, that's another issue, but at least ask the colleges if they could find a place or a home in some sort of funding through other university funds.
The reporter allocation is an eye towards the future. In the way it's done with the materials that this committee gets, we're going to see notes from this SAC committee to next year's SAC committee with our intentions on that one-time funding, that we wanted to see further growth in areas. Even if they attempt to and they don't succeed, that's something that SAC's going to take into consideration next year.
Senator Bakta.
Hi, I had two questions. First, about the third bullet point of student government allocation. It reads that it will be sufficient to handle the increases in salaries. So, are we referring to the presidential and vice presidential, or the salaries?
This would be salaries for Amber's position. I'm not sure what the exact position is titled.
And second one was about the reporter. You mentioned that their funding was in the red right now. Could you expand a little more on that?
What do you think?
We don't have the exact number with us. I believe it's sitting around somewhere from $40,000 to $50,000 right now. Part of that comes from not making enough ad sales projected to what they had last year with how they thought they were going to balance that budget. Some of that comes with excessive spending. Maybe that spending could be setting them up for success next year. And that's our hope. We believe in the reporter. So they came to us and said they had the tools they needed to make the ad sales to balance their budget next year.
Senator Rsos.
So I have another question about the reporter. Sorry, we're going to keep drilling you about this.
It's okay, we expected it.
So I'm noticing that the base is decreasing. You're talking about trying to find new ways to supplement this. My question is, have we seen an increase, like a trend of increases in the base, or why are we suddenly switching?
No, the reporter's been cut historically.
Well, there's been ups and downs.
Yeah.
They did receive an increase in funding this year. So just to talk a little bit more about where the numbers come from, the $53,440 is what they received for fiscal year 19. That was their base allocation for fiscal year, so last year essentially. Now they received an increase from that 53,000 to 66 in this current fiscal year 20, but we don't know the effects of that increase yet because the fiscal year is not over, because we're currently running through that period right now. Does that answer your question?
Well, I have a follow-up.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Oh, okay. So if we don't know the effects of that, but they're projecting that their AdSense is going to be, or their ad revenue is going to be higher than it has in the past, why are we suddenly motivated to cut it?
We aren't cutting from this fiscal year that we're currently in.
Cutting from their base.
Because we want them to know that there is a problem right now. They're 50,000, 40,000 in the hole. So there is a problem and there needs to be change. The reporter, as it currently is not balancing their budget. And so the message here and the intent here is that SAC can look at again next year through the lens of we're asking you to change something significant. It's not this one-time funding isn't going to go away in its entirety next year. I can't speak to what the committee's going to decide, but I do know that that money will be there up until then, and then SAC and the Senate can reassess under the full capacity of the reporters ad staff and where they think they're going to land. They can reassess, do they need more money? Do they need less money? Do they need to stay the same? So this is a way of giving easy answers to next year by making a hard choice right now.
Okay, another follow-up on that. But if the trend has been historically that you guys are consistently cutting it, I guess it's ebbed and flowed, but consistently been cut, wouldn't that motivation to change the budget have already happened? Isn't this an indicator of a deeper problem rather than they're just not balancing their budget well?
What do you mean by a deeper problem?
Well, so I'm saying if the reason you guys are deciding to cut the base rate is to motivate the reporter to make changes for next year, but they have repeatedly seen cuts historically and those changes haven't been made, why do we think that cutting it this time is going to work?
Because it's a one-time funding. We're maintaining funding. We don't think about this as a cut. We think of this as maintaining their current money, the one that they said they can succeed at with the ad staff that they're paying with that money they have right now. We're maintaining that into the next fiscal year with the message for future Senate members and future SAC committee members that this was something they said they could be operational at. And from there, you guys can take that on.
President Omar, before she begins, I just want to say, again, please keep asking questions. Raise your placard up if you want to be in the speakers list. President Omar.
My question is, at certain points throughout the presentation, you guys mentioned majority use, that a lot of students are trafficking or using these programs, and so it was only right to fund them. However, at certain points, you see a lot of students using certain programs and they received a cut. So did you guys have a guideline where it was majority use, or what you guys felt was best regarding the engagement?
It was definitely a mix. So like we said earlier, we're trying to make sure that the students get essentially the most bang for the buck, that the student allocations are going mostly to the students because that reach the most people. Some of the programs that ask for increases, we don't believe those increases are justified that they're going to reach more a larger percent of the population than the funds already allocated. Does that make sense?
Kind of. If you don't mind following up with another question. So you guys also mentioned you guys had data on how many students it is reaching. If they have shown an increase on the amount of students they have been reaching, would it then be okay to cut them, or was that just like you guys felt as though they were okay with where they're at and you guys decided to leave them there?
That would depend on the program. All the programs are, in very different situations. They all serve very different purposes around campus. They'll have very different size budgets. Do you have a specific program in mind?
Well, I was just touching back on the engagement part about like how we reach all students, but we won't be able to reach the majority amount of students because it would cause an increase. Understandable. So I was just trying to get a grasp of what the guidelines you guys were following were. But it was different on each basis, is what I'm assuming.
Well, I would say you're right. It is whatever can reach the most students, but some programs are asking for increases for specific areas, and SAC did not believe that those specific increases were going to reach a justifiable amount of students to recommend that increase.
We sat through hour-long meetings with each department, and they brought to us their program goals and where those increases would go to. And then under the guise of hearing about what those programs do, how many students they think they're going to engage, how it fits with the university mission. We took that and we compared them with each other, and we tried to maximize student engagement across the board.
Next is Senator Swancutt.
In regards to cutting the coordinator stipends, did student government provide you with information on the work that they do, and did you meet with the current coordinators as to what work they are doing before justifying that cut?
So when we did meet with student government, we did talk about some of the positions in student government, including president, vice president, coordinators. On our committee, we do have 3 senators, so we talked a lot to the senators who are obviously in the committees, and we do have a former coordinator that we talked to, and the consensus of the group is that the coordinator positions, people should be there because they care to be there.
Did you talk to any current coordinators?
Not any current coordinators.
No current, okay.
Yeah, and we are current coordinators, and we are cutting our own
Right.
stipend, and we still felt it was justified, so.
Well, current chair and vice chair.
Yeah.
Not current coordinator.
Senator Stiff.
Again, with the student government budget cuts, you mentioned some of that would be absorbed with like you said, the cuts of the vice chair and the coordinator position. So, I guess I was just wondering, like, if you said the incentive should be you want to do it on your own, not that this money shouldn't be the reason that you do it. But as far as the coordinator positions, I think some of, or most of all are like appointed. So again, I'm a coordinator, but I didn't know about the stipend before that. But I'm just like wondering with your reasoning and the fact that we are appointed instead of that we don't run to be coordinators, like I'm just wondering like how that fits together exactly.
When you were appointed, like when people are appointed, it just like you don't just like point at them and appoint them.
I'm aware.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they're offering to take on that work. So
I'm
maybe I'm
finding-
confused.
Yeah, I'm confused. Could you explain more about the connection you're trying to make between appointment and the?
I'm just saying, like, you said there shouldn't be an incentive, like, the stipend shouldn't be the incentive to become a coordinator. But again, like I said, I didn't know about it, but I didn't run to become a coordinator. I was appointed to be one, so that's at least where my question wasn't your motive. Yeah, that wasn't the motive.
Yeah.
So if it isn't the motive, and we need to see cuts in programs across the student fee, if it wasn't a motive, then why is it there?
I don't think that relates. Like the compensation that you get, it still doesn't necessarily have to be a motive, but it's something again that I found out about afterwards, and it's kind of like not a reward, but it's just acknowledgement of the extra work you do outside of being a senator.
Absolutely, and I understand that, and I'm grateful for my reward. I just feel that that money coming to me and the work I've done does not justify it across the student engagement strong enough.
President Omar.
Following up on it, so if it wasn't, so it's not about motive, is there a reason why you guys also then, thinking about motive, didn't decide not to cut president, vice president? Because the coordinators do similar amounts of work as the president, vice president of student government. Or how were you guys able to do that in an equitable manner of considering?
Yeah, we did look at the president, vice president, and speaker position, and we just felt like the massive amounts of work that you guys do. And after talking to yourself, because we talked to you and Andrew about it, and you guys said that you believe that the president and vice president should remain flat, and we took that into consideration.
President Omar.
I would like to follow up. And then you also mentioned speaking to a former coordinator, but not speaking to the current. So were your consensus just based on that former coordinator instead of?
Yeah, and the group as a whole, we just felt like it was a way that to save some funds, hopefully absorb the funds. We didn't feel like the work that they were doing justified the stipend position. We cut our own stipend positions. When we decided this, we were in a closed door budget meeting for 8 hours on Saturday. We didn't have an opportunity to reach out to the current coordinators and schedule a sit down.
President Omar.
One last follow-up. So you felt that their work wasn't sufficient. Can you tell me what you believe their work is within student government?
I cannot, because I didn't speak on that point. We had some of the people that were more familiar with the student government process speak on most points. So I personally did not speak on that point. I brought up the cutting of the SAC chair and vice chair, so I can tell you all about the work we do, but as far as the meeting goes, I was not, one of the people that was speaking on that, because I don't know.
Yeah, we're a consensus. We come to an agreement as a group, and the two of us in our current positions agreed that we should cut our positions, and then the former coordinator came forward with the coordinator positions.
President Omar.
Totally understandable, and I commend you guys for doing that. However, you guys are very well aware of what your job is, like what your job consists of. And my concern is if you are unaware and you didn't reach out to those coordinators, how should we know that you guys made a judgment that is correct and fair if you guys weren't reaching out? Or if I may, if you don't mind, yielding to our PR coordinator, and so he could possibly give you guys a description of what he currently does, and then we can just so you guys know, because I would like you guys to be informed. I appreciate all the hard work you guys have put into this, and I commend you guys for even taking your own cut, but I would like for you guys to have a little bit of an understanding of what our PR coordinator or our legislative affairs coordinator has done.
Senator Wenzrow, if you will,
Really quickly, I'm not going to take a side on this right now. I'm relatively indifferent, but I did do the math and I found out, and I probably told some of you around this table, that when I do the math, based on how many hours of working and how much compensation I'm getting, it's about $3 an hour, almost $4 an hour that I'm getting. So that is something to take into consideration, but again, I'm not taking a side on this right now.
Can I add, would you have taken the position without the stipend?
Yes.
Yeah. We can still get qualified candidates without the stipend. To speak to the, sorry, am I okay?
Okay, I'm done. Thank you so much.
Yeah, to speak to the work, the benefits that senators receive as a chair, our former coordinator spoke to the fact that she gained extremely valuable resume experience. I'm sure Andrew can testify to that, and I think that's another thing worth putting in there. Overall, this is a small portion of the budget, I understand that, and it is cutting yourselves, which sounds weird, but we felt that it just wasn't justified with the amount of student engagement.
Proxy Gavin.
Yeah. Did you have something on this topic?
No.
Oh, okay. Then mine's different too. I was wondering what the $127,000 for the reporter was for. What was that? Because that's so much more than the 66.
So they were asking, they currently have 2 full-time staff salary positions, and they wanted both of their full-time positions to be funded on the student activities fee, and then they were gonna make up, that was the number of their full-time salary positions, I believe was 127,000, and then they were gonna make up the rest in their ad revenue.
Senator Nellis.
So, going back to Maverick Adventures, I was wondering, did you guys reach out to speak to the grad assistant and what he does on a day-to-day basis and the knowledge and experiences that he brings to the table for that?
He did come in and present to us.
Okay.
So, yeah, we got a good idea.
And from that, you guys came to the consensus that a student without those experiences and expertise would bring the same.
That's where the committee landed, yes.
Any last questions? Any last questions? Senator Moltari.
My only concern is, okay, for here, my friend right here sitting is the current diversity coordinator, and he didn't get paid the current year, and I think legislative coordinators do not get paid either. What, other than these guys took the responsibility of working without any motivation, but when talking about equality, they should be paid, and you guys are cutting stipends. Other than the motive part, do you have any other factors that would be affecting the decision? So in short, I would just say, other than you should be doing it on your own factor, is there any other thing that made you choose this, cutting of the stipend?
Why we cut the stipends other than just personal incentive. We felt that it's just not justifiable to benefit all students. That's what it comes down to.
I have a follow-up.
Yes, go ahead.
But at the same time, I strongly believe coordinators put extra efforts and work. Even you would agree because you are the vice chair or chair, I think. So I'm not saying the senator should get paid, but I still believe the coordinator should get paid.
Yeah, and it's up to you guys. You guys are the deciding body. We are only recommending. Where we come down to is it just wasn't justifiable compared to
Senator Rsos.
So I have a logistical question. So say we decide to not go with one of your recommendations, are we then responsible for coming up with the specific dollar amount, or are we just approving or denying your recommendation? Do you understand?
I'll yield to John for that.
I'll do that at the end when we're done talking, because I'll talk about procedural stuff from here.
Okay, great, thank you.
Procedure doesn't matter when you can cut all the work and just totally accept the plan as is. Makes it a really short meeting.
Senator Wolfhard, you still have
Okay. Hey, so just on the topic of student government as well, for student coordinators, would you say that when looking at speaker, president, vice president, and then coordinators, would you say that your cuts to coordinator positions was more of a less controversial position to take and make less of an impact than if you were to cut from president, vice president, and speaker?
We felt that the engagement that the vice president and the president make across campus is very strong. And I know from testimony from both of them that they could not work a job on the side as they are. They just couldn't do it. They said that to us. And I know for a fact certain coordinators do work a side job. So that was kind of one of the rationalizations that we came to.
Follow up, Senator Woodward?
Just following up on that, because you said that, they do a lot of work, as the executive. And coordinators definitely do a certain amount of work to an extent too, especially with the side job, as you said, one student has. Would you say that cutting the stipend would more adversely affect many students that, while they're passionate about student government, find that they're in a deficit without that stipend? Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, basically, if you were to cut the stipend, would you believe that you would see less working able people that have to work, students that have to work, for a living,
people who
apply for these positions while they're still passionate.
People who need that money to support themselves.
Yeah, but they're still passionate and want to further themselves beyond their regular customer service position while it is a good endeavor.
I don't think that we believe so. We believe that, like we said, most of us when we run or get appointed don't even know that that money is there, and that's not a reason we're seeking it out. And we personally don't believe it should be a reason.
Any last, Senator Karki?
So I would like to start off by saying I'm not being biased among our staff and faculty members and the student position people. So from my personal analysis from this report, I see the student position, the students who are the entitled position, let's say as a coordinator or let's say as a GA as in MAVRIK Adventures, are kind of not so focused. What I would like to say is they spend their time, they do a little extra work, they do have lots of on their head going to school, reading, and then doing other job, and then committing the extra time with this kind of activities. So I feel again, I'm not being biased, but I kind of feel the students' roles are kind of being neglected here. So I would like to speak on reconsidering about cutting off the GAs and the sorority and fraternities as well, and also the coordinators of the student government.
Absolutely. All the funds that we are working with here, not just the student ones that go towards students, but funds that go towards the International Center, funds that go towards maintaining the gym. All of these dollars have significant effects on students. Making a cut anywhere in these programs is going to negatively affect, because those dollars aren't just being spent willy-nilly. Every one of these dollars that we cut, you guys are somebody's gonna have a problem around the table with, because they're gonna see the human side of that. And that's really hard to deal with. But if we said yes and we maintained all these positions that weren't engaging a large amount of students, if we kept those all, then we would all be seeing a fee increase above what the state legally allows. So it comes down to balancing general fees against individual stories, as hard as that is.
All right, any last questions? Senator Swank.
I think what's being lost here is that my coordinator position is not paid. I believe it should, because I did put in a lot of work this year. That's a whole different story. But a lot of it is more advocacy.
Sorry, this isn't debate. Question.
I know, I'm not debating.
Can you jump to the question?
Yeah. I forgot my question now.
Well, I just want to remind everyone, this is not debate, this is questions, strictly questions.
I can't remember it exactly.
All right, any last speakers? If not, we'll go President Omar and then Advisor John.
I just want to thank you both so much for all of the hard work you guys have put into this. We truly do appreciate and recognize the amount of work and how difficult it is with such a big budget. And I just want to extend my thank you for both of you guys as well as everybody on SAC. I truly do appreciate the work you guys have done. We all appreciate the work you guys have done, and we appreciate you guys coming in, answering our questions, and presenting this to us.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you to my fellow committee members. You know, it wasn't just us.
And then we'll go to John.
Oh, and one last thank you, Mark and Teresa. My 2 years here on this committee and here at this university have been foundational to my image of myself as a leader. And Mark and Teresa are who I model my leadership after. So thank you so much.
And then we'll go to John.
Okay. Okay, so what next? That's what I'm going to answer. Procedurally, as I spoke about a couple weeks ago, this group, the Student Applications Committee, has just presented to you their recommendation. Again, it is a recommendation. What is going to happen is 3 weeks from today. 3 weeks from today? Yes. 3 weeks from today is your budget hearing, okay? At that budget hearing, to answer your question, Senator's first one, yes. If there is going to be a change to a fee-funded line item, you come up with that specific dollar amount, okay? It gets moved, it gets seconded, it gets discussed, it gets voted on, just like any other motion that you make, okay? That's what happens. So, what is going to happen is this document hasn't gone out by email yet. I'm one of the requesting budget directors, so I haven't even gotten it by email yet. Do you know what the timeline for this going out, Mark?
It'll go out tomorrow morning.
It'll go out tomorrow morning to the fee-funded directors. The people who presented the request, developed the request, they'll get that tomorrow morning. And then they have the ability to appeal the SAC recommendation. If they choose to appeal the SAC recommendation, they will let Teresa know, and they will be scheduled to appear before you on the 25th. That's when they will come and try to make their case for their allocation. They may ask for the full amount, or they may ask for, hey, if you can't give me that, can you at least give me this? That's kind of what they're going to do if they appeal their recommendation from the SAC committee, okay? If they are looking at the SAC recommendation and they're like, okay, we can live with that, they're not likely to show up at that budget meeting unless you ask them to, okay? So typically, it's not written that you have to do this, but it's common courtesy. If there's a recommendation on there that you don't plan to touch, okay, or if there's a recommendation on there that you plan to tinker with or possibly do something different than what's on there, it would be good to ask that group to be there so that they have a heads up that there might be something or discussion further about their recommendation, okay? Because, for example, if I'm okay with mine and it looks good to me, and I might just assume, hey, it's non-controversial, it's going to pass okay, I'm not going to show up to that meeting. If you're thinking otherwise, you're going to want to let them know so that they know to be there, okay? And Andrew's going to pass around a list that allows you to do that. You need to let Amber know about that by Friday, because Amber will coordinate with Teresa and they'll ask those departments to be there, okay? So between now and that meeting, what do I recommend that you do? I recommend that you come to that meeting on the 25th as prepared as you possibly can be, okay? If you have questions about what they were actually asking for money for, there is that notebook right there has all of the requests that these departments have submitted. Okay? It's public information. You can go look at it. You can go see how much they're asking for programs or for whatever. And you should do that between now and then if you've got specific questions about any of these departments, okay? Because the last thing, we don't want you to like ask the group to be there and then ask them questions that you could have answered by looking in that book. Okay, that's a waste of all y'all's time, okay, including the people who you might ask to be there, okay? So take a look at that, see if there are questions, and then don't be afraid to go talk to them, okay? All of us who make requests, we're real people, we're happy to talk about what the money goes for, why we thought we needed what we needed, and do that, okay? If you've got an idea or you're thinking about making a recommendation, it might be worth it to go to somebody and say, so, I don't really agree with the SAC recommendation, but here's what I'm thinking, how does this jive with what you're thinking? It's okay to do that stuff outside of the actual budget hearing and try to come up with a solution, okay? Oftentimes, groups can, especially when it comes to money. Money's a big deal. It's the biggest thing you talk about during the year, okay? People get protective, and they like to see transparency. This body, and I told this to Anissa and Andrew the other day when we were talking in a closed-door meeting, I'm like, this body this year has done a fantastic job working with people across campus, being transparent about their ideas, what they're thinking, and all of that kind of stuff. This is a time of all times to keep that up, okay? If you're thinking about stuff, go talk to these areas that are impacted by this very, very important decision that you're going to be making, okay? They might even reach out to you in the next couple of weeks when they see these recommendations, okay? So don't be afraid to talk to them, to pitch ideas, to say, is this number workable? Is this something that's more doable for what you're thinking about? That can make a very productive hearing on the 25th and actually help you in terms of your time, okay? Again, maintaining the transparency, the civility. Again, people get uptight when it comes to money because it has a huge impact on these departments, okay? So the decision you're going to make is going to be a very big one, but be transparent, be informed. If there's something that's not clear about the their request, be sure to ask that. Don't be afraid to do it, and talk to each other. Okay, y'all can talk to each other too about stuff that's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. So that meeting on the 25th is going to be very, very important. Also, keep in mind that when you're talking about dollars and cents, when you're looking at that chart, okay, the green section. Okay, I'm looking at the last page of your packet that they've given you. The proposed credit hours there, 302,833, okay? That means that every penny of student fees that you're talking about, every penny, is roughly $3,028, okay? So sometimes when you're looking at a couple $100, you don't want to nickel and dime stuff, but thinking about the overall picture in terms of what a penny in student fee actually means, okay? It's $3,028 roughly, okay? So those are some of the amounts that you're looking at. By law, you can recommend an increase of up to 2.0% without it having to go to the student body for a vote, okay? If on the 25th, all of your numbers add up and it comes out to more than $8.94 a credit hour, it will have to go to the student body for a vote on election day, okay? So that's kind of what you're looking at. So with your up to 2.0% increase in the student fee.
So if it goes up to the student body and the referendum doesn't pass, what's our backup?
Okay, I use some I don't know what metaphors. My recommendation to you is that if you recommend a budget that is more than 2%, you got to have one in your back pocket that you fall back on. Okay, so if the vote fails at a referendum, have one that's 2% or less that you go back into and that defaults. Okay.
Any questions for John? Any questions? Any questions?
Can I yield to Mark to see? Yeah, I was going to see if there's any.
One more time. And the main thing is try not to take any of this SAC's presentation personal along the way. Their job was to go ahead and to make recommendations to you all. I don't think anywhere along the line, and I'll use this one because this tended to be a focus for a while, that SAC said that the coordinators' positions aren't important and they don't do a good job. Their job is to try to find money to stay under they chose to take this job, to stay under 2%. They found $2,900 that they thought was important to cut there. It was nothing about the coordinators not doing a good job or not thinking they're worth money or anything like that. They are in a tough place, and it was one of the roles they took in this place. So I'm using that as an example that don't take anything personal when it comes to any of these type of things. Their job is to try to put things back to you all. They put more time than anybody has at this point in time to make good recommendations. As both of them said, the final job is your job. So it's not important to attack anybody about the recommendations, because you have the ultimate goal in order to be able to try to make changes overall, and you'll do a good job doing it, because you do every year overall. So I think focusing on any one group, they thought, or any of the different recommendations, they thought this was a way to maybe cut some money piece.
So again, you're gonna, if you want to ask specific questions of a department, you have the ability to fill out, to put that on the list that's going to be going around. Otherwise, there will be groups, I can guarantee you that there will be groups that do want to appeal their recommendation to you. And they will make their case, or they'll let Teresa know about that. During that meeting on the 25th, typically, oftentimes what we'll do is we don't necessarily go through these line items in this order. It's courtesy that we have entertained those and discussed those that are appealing, are actually appearing before you, before those who aren't, okay? So that people don't have to sit around till the very, very end. So that's kind of what we will try to do. But if there are specifics, there may be overlap in who you want to talk to and who's actually appealing. So I would not be surprised to see that at all, and that's perfectly fine. So, but if there is anybody for sure who you want to have questions about, and or if you're thinking about tinkering with the numbers, you might want to, you'll want to put them on that list, okay? If there's not, again, if their recommendation, if they're getting recommended what they asked for, they may not think that they need to come to this meeting. So I'll be sure and put them down if you're thinking about anything else, okay? Any other questions?
Seeing none, thank you, John. I just will talk a little bit after him, but so I do have the sheet. So what you're gonna write, if you want to see someone come in like he mentioned, it will be specific areas. For example, President Omar has already written International Kearney Center. So you'd write specific areas like student government, reporter, not, I don't know anything else you'd write, but that's what you want to write. If someone wrote something, just put a dash by it, I guess. I don't know, but these will be people requesting in, and that needs to make it all the way back, so please do not someone take it. And then the blue binder that John mentioned, it will be at the student workers desk in the student government office. I encourage everyone to look at it at least once or twice, go through it, see what they're asking for, see what they got cut, see, basically everything will be in here. Better be informed than not informed at all. Yeah, I yield to John.
The other thing I would suggest, if you do request a specific department to come before you, again, this time's high pressure for a lot of people, and if you get asked to come before a body like y'all, as nice and as transparent as y'all have been, it can be intimidating, especially when it comes to money. Don't be afraid to give them a heads up on what you're going to ask them when they come before you on the 25th, okay? You can see who the budget director is in that notebook. If you need to fire off an email and say, hey, I'm the one who requested that you come to the meeting, here are some of the questions I've got, or even better, go see them beforehand. And if you get your questions answered and it's like they don't need to be there, let them know, okay? So that can be very, very helpful. Again, this transparency and the rapport that you've built with people across campus, this Senate has been very good. So I encourage you to keep that up.
Any last minute questions? Just again to say our budget meeting will be the 25th starting at 3, so everyone should be available at that time. And we look forward to it. Going into the next item on our agenda will be the approval of the consent agenda. Is there any dissent to the approval of the consent agenda? Is there any dissent? Seeing no dissent, the consent agenda is approved. We will now move into officer report, starting with President Omar.
Hello everybody, I just have a few updates. The Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion has contacted me, and he is looking for a representative to serve on the Recruitment and Retention Coordinator Position Committee. The search committee should be complete by March 20th, so if anybody at this table is interested in serving on that committee, please see me afterwards. It will begin around April 1st. My second update is the Vice President for Undergraduate Education is looking for students to join in on the Common Curriculum Committee, listening session part 2. They are looking at goal areas 11, 12, and 13, as well as diverse cultures and writing intensive. And so a few dates that I have for you all that are interested is Monday, March 16th from 11 a.m. to noon. And I'll also be emailing this all out to you guys. In CSU 201, Thursday, March 19th from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. in CSU 201. And Monday, March 23rd in ML 2057, and this will be a Zoom meeting. If you are unable at the dates that I just announced, you can, the email that I'll forward to you all, it will have a form where you guys can provide your suggestion if you're unable to make it to the meeting. Lastly, I do want to pass out the meet and confer sheet. Meet and confer is tomorrow from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. It is in CSU 202. You guys signed up the week prior, so I just want to remind everyone that's on this list where it is. And with that, I yield for any questions.
Are there any questions for President Omar? Seeing none, we'll move into my officer report. This is from Speaker Zellmer. Officer hours are due tomorrow at noon. She will be checking even though she's gone, so please submit them. Don't email me if you can't. You didn't do them or didn't turn them in, that's hers. But please turn them in by tomorrow at noon, and then obviously we'll have spring break, so we'll start the cycle again next when we come back. March 26th, I said this last week, 9 to noon, the provost will be doing a day in the student government office, and we'll be doing 15-minute appointments with him. And you can email me or President Omar to get on that list, but we're trying to put non-senators first. But we will love for you guys to actually come and speak with him. He'll only be there for a short time, and we're going to start advertising that shortly. We have 2 vacancies still, CSET and off campus. We won't have an election until the 18th, so hopefully we get an applicant that is here and engaged in the process. We'll have no meeting next week, too. That came from Speaker Zellmer. And then we found this out yesterday, and we were invited. There's an open house info session on March 26th from 1 to 3 p.m. in the Johnson Alumni Room for a new College of Business building, Welcome Center, Career Center. I'll pass this sheet around. So if you are interested in joining that session, the time's on there, the location's on there. It'll be a big meeting, or a big thing. And then our Dean of the Day today is Dean Flannery from College of Business. And I yield for any questions. Oh, policy review is starting again. The new round will start, will be 45 days of review. Work with your coordinators to look at those policies and get their feedback to them, and then we'll compile them as student government. The date which they're due is April 20th, to my knowledge. And for that, I yield for any questions. Are there any questions from me? Seeing none, we will move into Senator report. With Senator Nellis.
Hello, I'll keep it short and sweet. So if you guys remember, my project was to fix the light cycle if you're on stadium turning left to go towards the pitch, the soccer field, the softball field, campus rec, like intramural areas, from being a yield light to an arrow. And I finally broke through to someone in the government at Mankato, and I got in contact with the assistant city engineer who's checking on it. I have not heard back from him in a couple days, so I'm gonna keep hounding him on that. And then all that I've really been doing, I'm on Andrew's Civic Engagement Committee, so that went really well. We were tabling for the primary, and I would let him speak more on that because he's the expert, but it went really well, so that's what I've been up to.
Are there any questions for Senator Nellis? See none, thank you so much. Senator Chiwaka?
Hi everyone, good to see you all again up here. So first semester I kind of started a project about getting some donations to the campus cupboard. I'm still working on that project and I always have my ears open for potential donors. Right now I'm in contact with a couple hotels, seeing if I can get their toiletry items donated to us. But I also am taking on a little new project this semester. I just joined the MAVRIK Advisory Board, and we had our first meeting on Monday. It went really well. I got to see some of the behind the scenes of what's going on with the app right now. And I had an idea while I was in that meeting about thinking about, I was trying to look through the app and see where students can record their service hours that they have, that they do on campus. I saw under the international tab that there is a spot there to record the cultural contribution hours, but I was trying to think about just other students in general, about where they can record their service hours. There is a way to do it through Engage. It does take a couple steps to record it through there, and it does show up on your transcript towards the end of the year. But I was trying to find maybe a little quicker way in which students could just record their hours via the app. So I have a meeting with Chris post-spring break to talk about that further and maybe the best location for that kind of addition to the app. And for that, I yield to questions.
Are there any questions for Senator Truato? Seeing none, thank you very much. Senator Maltari, and Senator Bouchard will be moved to next week.
Hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Arnavi Matar and I'm Senator at Large for Student Government. And okay, we met last Friday with Library and the Bookstore Advisory Committee, and I just wanted to introduce myself as the chair and Ryan Wolford as the co-chair for the committee. And updates on the library and the projects we are planning to work on. So library has made changes with books. So like books can be checked out for more than 7 days, and it's 14 days for students. And same would be for DVDs and CDs. Library has been able to start a new feature that is hold request feature in Mav Scholar. So like you can reserve an equipment online and get it picked up from the circulation desk that is in the basement of the library. How many of you here have gotten the fine fee at all in the library? There was a $25 fine for submitting your equipments later than the due date, and they've changed it to the end of the day so that students wouldn't have to run back to the library and struggle with it. Another one is the construction in the library. If you have seen the area on the first floor, I'm passing on the sheet that shows what is going to be the construction. If you have questions, let me know, hit me up. Another project I was working on was International Festival, and we were planning to merge World's Got Talent with it because we don't have enough dates to have many events all together. And I was able to work with International Student Association and Kearney International Center to execute this, and that has been a success. So we are having those events together, right, back to back. Someone addressed me an issue of not having halal food in CSU, and I was able to talk to Mark about it, and I passed on the word, and I think they might be able to bring halal food in CSU from the dining center just to make sure people of color, people from diversity get included and don't feel like they don't belong here. I don't guarantee anything on this, but yeah. Updates on Sneha, Senator Bhusal's event. She's sick today, she couldn't show up. So since she was sick, we couldn't meet with Laura Schultz from Women's Center, but I was able to get a meeting with her on that, and I think the graduate assistant from Women in Global Leadership would be able to help us with this, and I think they're collaborating with us soon for the event. So we have so many events coming up. And today I was able to meet with the census person for this year that is from the library. Her name is Monica, and Dominic is going to work with me on that. And I think I've heard Andrew's going to help us with that too. So we are going to be tabling in the library soon and passing out information about census. And with that, I yield.
Are there any questions for Senator Maltar? Senator Karki?
First of all, I would like to congratulate your chair election. And my question is, like, as you mentioned, the library equipment, they're like due at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Does that include like the reserved book, which is like they have like 2 hours limitation? if not, then I would recommend to extend the time because like 2 hour passes so quick while reading those books, and then you don't have like a time, limit.
So for the books that are reserved for 2 hours, there's a specific program they're gonna introduce, and we just had a conversation about it. So we might be able to make sure that books that are more in demand are available to students for longer hours, or maybe at least every student gets it, so that it's not much of.
Are you talking about MAV Reserve books?
Yeah.
That is our program. We can talk after.
Okay.
Are there any more questions for Senator Moltari? Seeing none, thank you so much. Senator Johnson, and then on deck, Senator Schumacher.
Hey everyone, so I'm going to try to make this pretty short and sweet. You all know me, Paige Johnson, Arts and Humanities, 102. So Wi-Fi the PA has been super down, but IT totally stole my thunder and fixed it, so I can't really give you anything on that. A couple weeks ago, I did the Pedal Past Poverty thing. It was super fun to have a stranger, like, fan me for 20 minutes. It was great. Currently, the Arts and Humanities department is trying to, or college, sorry, fill in the tap jazz musical theater position. So we've been super busy conducting interviews, holding classes, and tons of stuff like that. Like it's a long, long day, and we've had 4 so far. So been pretty busy with that. Last semester, as many of you know, I had a parking pass that I was working on. I had ended the semester saying that it was all set and ready to go. Well, I lied. It's not. There was a little miscommunication, so right now I'm creating an Excel sheet, and David Callan and I are working really closely to finish that. Fellow Senator Schmidt and I met with Dean Brown today, and we talked about keeping the music library in the PA as it is, or dividing it, keeping part of it as a library, the other part a classroom, or converting the whole thing to another dance studio. It's all up for debate. Dean Brown to talk about it. Also reviewed the parking pass and moving the music risers. I don't want to get too much into Senator Schmidt's area, but just leave that for her on bated breath. And creating fundraisers for the music and dance department. And now maybe theater with seeing the budget cut. With Mike Olson, who is a music faculty. I yield.
Are there any questions for Senator Johnson? Seeing none, thank you very much. Senator Schumacher, come next.
Hi everyone, I'm Senator Schumacher. If you don't know me, I'm Senator for SBS as well as Academic Affairs Coordinator. So I have 2 updates. First, for Academic Affairs, the first part of the semester we were working on policy review, as we will be again. And then also, Academic Affairs as a committee, we've decided we're going to be doing tabling right after spring break, March 18th, that's a Wednesday. In the CSU, we'll be handing out cookies, kind of as a way to say welcome back from spring break. Good luck, or like good luck with the rest of the semester, and stuff like that. And then we'll also be doing general student government tabling and promoting the upcoming election as well. Regarding SBS, me and the other senator met with Dean Loiza on Monday, and we continued our talks regarding advising, as well as just some of the general changes within the college. This includes the possibility of social work moving to allied health and nursing. I know it was talked about last week, but there's a possibility of that happening and might be a better fit there. We also talked about getting more SBS professors to use both MavConnect and do D2L overall. Right now, very few faculty members are using MavConnect to connect with their students. Some don't use D2L either, so we kind of talked about some of the ways that can be implemented. Dean Loiza had the idea of me and Senator Pearson to go and talk to their leadership council, which is made up of all their different departments. So hopefully we'll be able to go in there, talk about the importance of keeping open access to students and allowing them to access them easier. One of the great ways would be through MavConnect. We also talked about them posting their office hours both on MavConnect as well as on their department pages, just so students can find them easier. Other than that, we'll continue talking about advising as well as creating more channels of open communication within SBS between the students and faculty and creating more of those networking opportunities. So with that, I yield.
Are there any questions for Senator Schumacher? Seeing none, thank you very much. Lastly, Senator Dickey and Wallace.
Good afternoon, Senators, as well as members of the gallery. My name is Senator Dickey, also known as Jaden Dickey. I serve as a senator for the College of Business.
And I'm David Watts. I serve as the second College of Business Senator.
Awesome. So first of all, before I continue, can everyone hear me? Yes. That's great to hear. I love that. All right. So for my update today, one of the big ideas, real world thinking projects. See what I did there? Ideas that we're doing for the College of Business is that we're kind of following a model from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. So during their welcome week, they have their College of Business students that are freshly new, that are coming to their university, have kind of a welcoming event for their students. This allows them to know the faculty for the College of Business, as well as resources for them in the College of Business, and guess what? RSOs for the College of Business. So with that, I have kind of, as well as David, have been working really closely with the dean. We actually met earlier today, and we're kind of planning out this project, and it's going to be an ongoing project through this spring as well as under the summer, and we're hoping to implement it by fall of 2020 to allow the students that are coming onto campus this fall to experience that connection with the College of Business. So this is a very big project, and we've got a lot of people that are interested in it. And we basically founded this when we met with the dean, both David and I, as well as both David and I, as well as College of Business heads of RSOs, kind of met with the dean, known as a COSBO meeting. So they allowed that opportunity, and we kind of voiced what we want to see with the College of Business this coming fall. And then lastly, what I want to touch on real quick, and then I'll hand it over to David, is that both David and I are also going to be working closely on this project, is implementing a, you kind of saw this with the Social Behavioral and Sciences College, that they made their own MAVRIK page. So we're going to try to do that for the College of Business as well. So with that, I'll hand it over to David, and then questions.
Yeah, and seeing that this Welcome Back Week event is going to be so big, I will be kind of stepping down from the initial role that I was creating business cards, or trying to create a system for personalized business cards for students. I'm still going to be working on that, but not as intensively as I'd hoped, because this event is going to be so important to our new students, in my opinion, that I feel like my energy would be best spent towards that. There are a couple other smaller things that I want to also work towards during the same time, and that would be the first year experience class that is held in the College of Business. I think it would be a great opportunity to have that for foreign exchange students coming in. So it's not necessarily that first year experience, it's more of a first experience getting to know the College of Business and who we are, and also possibly having it not only in the fall, but in spring, so people who missed the opportunity to take it their first semester have that second opportunity to take it. I know in my case, I missed it when I was a freshman, and looking at it the semester, my spring semester, I thought it would have been a great opportunity to take it, but that opportunity wasn't there, and I think it would be a perfect way to implement that, and it could be very successful. And looking at that is possibly also having the first year experience, having grad students, because I know everyone likes to have that connection and someone that's gone through that situation, your situation. I know I connect better with people like that, so I hope to work on those two, as well as working very closely with Jaden on this Welcome Back Week event. So I yield for questions.
Yeah, is there any questions for either David or myself?
Are there any questions, Proxy?
Yes. So I have just a quick, more like a hint for the for your wonderful program idea for the welcome to business students. So the international student orientation is at the same time. So I would maybe like recommend reaching out to the organizer of the orientation so that you can be inclusive of the business students of the international student population. Because if there's too much clash with other events, then these students might be excluded from this great experience.
Yeah. That's definitely something we want to look towards because we want to kind of include everyone that we're in that business or in the College of Business, and something we're working towards is having that Mav Connect or Mav Life College of Business page, because from Jaden's experience as an OPA, they come in earlier, so we want to get them knowing about this so they can plan ahead, or in case build it into that schedule. You know, like Welcome Week has that initial schedule, so building it into there could be really beneficial. But yeah, that's definitely something we need to consider because we don't want to exclude anyone from this, and we want to be as open as possible to like include everyone. And I want to say, like, we even want to include other people like who aren't in the College of Business. I don't want it to be just College of Business, because it would be great to have students from around campus show up and say, hey, maybe, you know, College of Business is something I want to look to, because I know there's plenty of new freshmen who are undecided. So keeping it open to people who are undecided would also be super beneficial, even if it, you know, they don't decide business in that. You know, it might spark their willingness to go to new events and meet new people. But yeah, you.
Any last questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. We have no old business. Sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. Is there anything for new business? Seeing none, we'll now move into announcements. We still have 2 vacancies, off-campus senator CSET 318. Applications will be on Engage. Please encourage people to apply, especially with the budget meeting coming up. President Omar, for announcements.
I have 2 announcements. First one, Ignite Women in Politics will be having a movie playing tomorrow at 5 p.m. in CSU 203. We will be watching Time for Ilhan. Last time there were some glitches. We weren't able to watch the movie or complete it, so we'll be starting over again this week. So please join us at 5 p.m. Lastly, I would like to remind all of you senators that we must be showcasing the utmost respect and professionalism when it comes to budget meetings. We need to work together when it comes to this, and we should not be taking jabs or anything like that, and show the respect to our SAC chair and vice chair and the committee for all the hard work that they have done. It is a hard and difficult decision, and so we must remain professional and showcase respect at all times. And with that, I yield.
Are there anything else for announcements? John?
As the person who coordinates off-campus housing, the reminder that the last off-campus housing fair of the academic year is taking place on Tuesday, 17th of March, so the Tuesday after spring break. So there will be an opportunity to visit with property managers should you wish to do so. And then I am also getting calls from first-year students who haven't started looking for housing yet. If you do know first-year students who haven't started looking at housing for next year, now's the time if they'd like to find something. So please encourage them to do so, specifically if you connect with them in the residential life community. So just a reminder, you've got a lot of stuff coming up over the next few weeks, so be sure you're well prepared. If I can answer any questions, don't be afraid to ask questions. I come up for at least a weekly meeting with the student leadership in the office, but I'm also located downstairs right below the student government office and can answer questions there as well. So we want you to be informed and again to be transparent and keep up the great work that you've done so far this year with partners across campus. So thank you. And then also just a reminder, get your kickball practice in, because what's is it going to matter? We're going to win it anyway. April 8th.
Okay. Senator Multari.
Students United updates. Apply for scholarships. Delegates is coming soon. We are going to Bemidji. I think we'll send out applications soon. And participate in census. And that's all. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me or Dominic.
Any further announcements? Dean Flanner.
Thank you so much for, is it off there? You can maybe hear me, but I'll use it because hear me now? Yeah? Okay. Well, I just want to share with you an invitation. First of all, great to be here with you. Always great to see you all. So great work that you're doing. And I thought you would be interested to know that on April 14th, there's something called the Big Ideas Challenge. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's open to the entire campus. It's for those students who want to start their own businesses or their own nonprofits. Well, we are announcing the finalists for the Big Ideas Challenge, and it's really exciting because it includes students from almost every single college. So I want to share it with you because it does include students from, for example, CSET, College of Allied Health and Nursing. I'll just tell you who the finalists are. So the finalists for the Big Ideas Challenge, and it was very tough to make the finals, include a student named Logan Sendel. He has a company called Lakeshore Potential. He is a business administration student. Another student who made the finals, his name is Stephen Rencher. He is sports and exercise psychology. He has a dog brush scratcher business. Another student who made the finals, his name is Sam Shemetzadia. He's a business management major. He has a lawn care business. 3 students out of CSET Computer Engineering, MIS IT, Abdel Abraham El-Awi, I don't know if I may not have said his name correctly, Caitlin Glogue and Alex Shepard. They have hearing glasses, glasses designed for people with hearing disabilities. They made the finals. An MBA student, Aji Bola, Asa Ulu, and an MBA student with Christina Azulu, who's a counseling and student personnel student. They have a African dress business. And then we have 2 students that made the Ag Food and Beverage Division finals, Matthew Indorf and Landon Brown. They are organizational leadership students on a company that does vertical hydroponic farming. And then the last finalist is Jaden Klingenberg, who's a psychology major, a duck retrieval boat. So a really diverse group of business ideas. There's a student choice, or there's a audience favorite, and so it's a voting. So if you want any of these students to be the winners of this, I think it's like a People's Choice Award. They then also, there's a separate funding for that. So the awards go anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. And whoever wins our Big Ideas Challenge here is automatic finalist for the Minnesota Cup, which is the nation's largest business pitch competition that's sponsored by the Carlson School of Business at the University of Minnesota. So April 16th in Ostrander, starting at 2 o'clock. I hope you can join us. Thank you. Okay. Did I say 2 different dates?
Yep, you said the 14th.
It is April 14th. 14th. Thank you.
Any last announcements? Mark? Oh, sorry.
It's sort of become a tradition for me. I want to wish everyone a good spring break. You've had a good 8 weeks, semester. Everybody works hard, a lot going on and things like that. But if you're traveling places, enjoy yourself, have fun, be safe. That's the one thing we always want to try to say. Make sure you don't overindulge necessarily. Have fun. Don't always bow to peer pressure when you're in different places and things like that. But the main piece is take a break. Let your mind go somewhere else and enjoy yourself along the way. We look forward to welcoming you back into CSU and student activities next semester. I mean, the rest of the semester. Thank you.
Senator Watts.
So for those of you who are interested in the theater aspect of the budget change, I have a few ideas that I will want to bounce around with you guys. So if you want to stay after and talk to me, I would gladly appreciate it.
Okay, any last announcements? Seeing none, I will go into roll call. Please do not pack up, because I want to go through it fast and make it noisy. Senator Biggs, not here. Senator Calderon-Pitchford. Okay. Senator McDavid. Here. Senator Schmidt. Here. Senator Johnson. Senator Dickey. Here. Senator Watts. Present. Senator Soliman. Present. Senator Brandmeier. Senator Cherry. Here. Senator Moore. Here. Senator Pradhan. Here. Senator Schumacher. Here. Senator Pearson. Senator Moltari. Hello. Senator Chiwatha. Present. Senator Stiff. Here. Senator Weinzierl. Here. Senator Bono. Senator Bouchon.
Proxy.
Senator Good.
Proxy.
Senator Nellis.
Here.
Senator Karki.
Here.
Senator Swancut.
Here.
Senator Vondra. Gotta be louder.
Oh, sorry.
Senator Bakta.
Present.
Senator Swirsel.
Here.
Senator Wolford.
Wolford.
Okay, I'm
Present.
Speaker Zelmer is not here. President Omar.
Present.
And Vice President Turney is here. The meeting is adjourned at 6:05.
Good night, everyone.
Oh, am I here?